show is wild, right? We've had some crazy things happen on our show. And a lot of people were like, how could you support that?
Virtual reality.
Hi, I'm Danny Murphy.
I'm Evan Real.
And we just got back from Cannes where we had so much fun with Bria and Simon from Summer House Martha's Vineyard. We talked about, Evan, how the show's on pause and everything, but they were such a delight.
Oh, they were so much fun. It made me so sad that Summer House Martha's Vineyard has come to an end. But Danny, there are some other Summer House moment coming to an end. The end of our favorite founder and CEO.
And this is why, as a founder CEO, I always try to understand people's personalities.
She announced her departure. What the hell?
I was not expecting this. At first I thought it was jet lag, because I was like, I can't even read that. I don't know what Danielle Olivera is writing about. But then when I read it and I saw the peace out Summer House caption, I got upset. Danny girl, why?
I know. I do kind of wonder why she decided to call it quits. I mean, she explained in her very lengthy Instagram statement, which I think was beautifully written, that it just didn't feel right. She wasn't able to give all of herself to another season this summer, but she wasn't super specific about what that really meant. But I don't know. I guess after this season, she was, she did the reunion at the very far end of the couch, and it felt like some of her castmates weren't really resonating with the thoughts, feelings, and opinions that she had to share. Paige definitely put her in her place. Lindsay's loyalty didn't seem at its strongest. So I guess it kind of makes sense that she should take a break.
Because I think Amanda even said that Danielle gave her the cold shoulder recently too. So I don't really know who Danielle was vibing with besides
Balloon Man?
West? Yeah, Balloon Man and West maybe? I don't really know who was on her side, which is so crazy because 3 years ago, Danielle was the person who was friends with everybody. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it is kind of crazy looking back at where she started and to where she came. The trajectory is a little bit confusing, especially because we ended the season at her apartment with all the girls hugging. And then the girls hugging vibe was not felt whatsoever at the reunion. So things had changed, things had shifted. And you know what? I'm glad that Danielle is taking a moment to just focus on herself. And I don't think that this is the end of the road for her. I bet she will pop up at some parties, kind of like how her good pal Chris Lopez has done. Wait, his name is Chris Lopez, right?
Chris Leone.
Chris Leone. Do you know what? I was thinking of Jennifer Lopez. Chris Leone. Is it really Chris Leone?
Oh.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
No, do you know what, Danielle? We will never get to a place where we forget your last name because you are truly an icon in the Summer House universe and you will always be famous.
I am kind of curious because you're saying that she just wanted to take a step away. I am reading into this, as I'm one to do. I love to read into text. When she said she can't be open with all of her, do you think something is going on? Do you think she has a new boo who maybe doesn't want to be on reality TV cameras and she's like, you know what, I've done it for 7 years. I've been because she had the Robert catastrophe, the Winter House Alex mess up. I don't know if Balloon Man is really still popping all around. I wonder if maybe she's like, you know what, I want to just kind of be in my business, girl, with my boy. I want to take a breather. Do you think that could be a possibility, or do you think it was much more like cut the cameras, dead ass?
No, I think that after you explain it like that, that does make sense because she's been doing Summer House for a while. The relationships that she's had during that journey haven't worked out. Hopefully, that could be because of the way reality TV impacted her romantic dynamics. So, if she's coming to a place and space in her life where having a thriving romantic partnership is more important than being on a reality show, then that could make sense. Yeah, maybe she does have a new boo.
I
And
hope
she,
so, because she's so
yeah,
chic and so fun.
yeah, oh, we love our Danielle. Yeah, I hope she's happy and thriving and that her love life is flourishing. And if the reason isn't because of a secret boyfriend, I hope that she has the sexiest single summer ever.
Oh, I know. But it is kind of funny because she's already been in the Hamptons so much from her Insta story, so I feel like she's still, because that's the thing about Danielle. I feel it's like Danielle and Kyle, they summer house without summer house. You know what I mean? They live that, I know the crew, it's a very authentic show, but like those two are the embodiment, I feel, of what a summer house is. So I think she's like still gonna be living her best life.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel like she's always gonna send it. Speaking of sending it, Kenya Moore, she got sent the
I
pink slip this week, Danny. I mean,
I
how are you?
can't. I'm heart. I'm like, you know how like when Nancy Pelosi sends you emails like heartbroken. I'm like, what, Nancy? What's going on here, girl? I can't donate more. I'm heartbroken. I am not expect because maybe it was 2 years ago. Kenya came into the office. We had a lovely time. And you know, because I was rewatching that while crying because I'm so sad that Kenya's gone. And she said to me, the day I need someone else for a storyline is the day the show is over. And I feel like that almost was kind of weirdly foreshadowing. Because, Kenya, why did you think you needed this newbie for a storyline moment? And now it has come to this.
I know it makes me really sad because I've been a Kenya stan for so long. When people ask me who's on my Mount Rushmore of Real Housewives, she always makes the cut. I love her so much. I think she's so fabulous and fantastic and brought so much to the Atlanta franchise over the years. And so it's kind of sad to see her bury herself. And like you said, Danny, it blows my mind that she would put herself at risk over a newbie who probably we don't know if she would have made it past one season. But Kenya, she's a legend, a legacy, truly a pillar within the not just the Real Housewives of Atlanta, but like the Real Housewives as a whole.
Yes.
I
She had
just
Beyonce quoted her once. Like,
Right, like I can't believe that she would risk it for this new girl. Like I just, especially in the current Bravo climate where there are so many stories and allegations and lawsuits regarding sexually charged incidents. It's so insane to me. I'm not understanding her mental roadmap. Like how did she get here? Like the thought that this would be a good idea, especially Danny, because you and I were chatting about this earlier. You know, last season, Kenya was so upset that the cameras or the season didn't cover her salon
yeah.
opening, like building the salon from the ground up, and she complained about that on Twitter. Finally, she has a moment where we're doing a big, I think most of the cast was there, a big event for the show. There was a red carpet. In the press interviews, like on the carpet, she was talking about everything I do it for Brooklyn. So everything you do it for Brooklyn. Then you step inside and you allegedly hand out posters with your new co-star who you barely know, uh, seemingly performing a sexual. I don't get it.
It's rough. It's unnecessary because a lot of people, because Kenya has a lot of fans, so a lot of people are saying like, oh, she walked into Marlo's event with the marching band and everything like that. I'm like, this is a little different because what is being alleged is very much. It even falls flat. You know what I mean? It's very much not like because Kenya, people say she's sometimes a villain. I usually think she's just always funny. She does things for a little shock value, a little humor, and it's always very much Kenya. Even like with the the microphone or whatever at that reunion, everything like that. There's always a moment of it where you can be like, oh my God, Kenya. This doesn't really have any of that, and that's why I don't get why it happened. But Evan, to your point, where she really wanted her salon being shown, I think they filmed it last year, but I guess nothing happened. So maybe she was like, well, I know they're gonna want to film this, and
I mean, possibly, maybe that. Okay, so maybe that's it. Danny, maybe you cracked the case. Maybe that is why she pulled this stunt because she felt like if she did, the salon opening would definitely make it into the season. Like I can see that theory sort of checking out. I just can't imagine Kenya wanting to make her salon opening about someone else.
yeah, that's true. That's very valid. And I know a lot of fans right now are worried and confused about what's going to happen on this season of Atlanta now.
I know. I mean, there's definitely a lot of theories out there floating around. Like Kenya Moore, she is not coming back for the remainder of season 16. They were a good chunk into filming when this incident took place. Not, it wasn't like the first week of filming, but it wasn't like near the end of the season. So it's like,
Yeah.
will she be edited out entirely of the season? Like, I feel like some people are like, that could maybe be like, maybe they'll edit her out and extend filming.
Okay. Do we
I don't
think
know.
do we think our friend Cynthia could get promoted? Because she's been filming.
I, do you know what? Okay, maybe that is the silver lining here is our girl Cynthia, who says she is happy in her friend role. But I would be happy if this somehow turned into Cynthia grabbing her peach back because we love Cynthia full time. I am wondering how Cynthia feels in all this because she and Kenya have been really close. I mean, obviously they had their issues and situation on Ultimate Girls Trip, which filmed a few years ago, but she was telling us that they got back to a really good place. So I don't know. It's tough because Kenya has historically been messy, which is why I think fans have loved her. And then
Yeah.
Cynthia has historically been kind of the peacekeeper. So I'm wondering how Cynthia's interacting with Brittany and Kenya following this whole
That's
debacle.
true. Oh, she's probably like, I'm filming my Hulu show in Canada. Y'all work this out when I get back, or whatever. Well, and also people are wondering, could this have like a Marlo return, a Sheree return, a Phaedra return? Because now it's like they are. I think the producers probably are aware they're in dire need of a legacy OG type energy here. While we don't know the answer to that, we did speak to someone with that legacy OG energy, Kandi, right before this news came out, but she's still, her tune hasn't changed. I just saw she talked on her Amazon Live supporting Kenya, so what she said to us, Evan, still rings true.
Show is wild, right? We've had some crazy things happen on our show. And a lot of people were like, how could you support that? And I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, she didn't make up anything about somebody. She pulled some unfavorable receipts off a line, which may not have been the nicest thing to do. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it was the nicest comeback at someone. But, when the ladies on our shows and on different shows on reality TV, when you say something to someone or you make a threat or you come at somebody in a negative way, you do not get to determine how strong the shade or whatever it is that's coming back at you. So that is my thing. Like, being on the show for so long now, I've become, so numb to some of this stuff that like people are like, that was so low. And I'm like, really? But we've seen Kenya walk into somebody else's event with a whole band before. Like, we've seen her walk into a nice event with butt pads on. With a, with a
She brought a cookie
dress.
lady. What?
Yes, like so I'm like, when did the rules become she had to be nice about it? So I was just like, guys, I can't really get with the hateration and the fact that, something similar has happened on one of the other shows. I'm just like, well, she's not reinventing the wheel. It wasn't nice, but it was out there.
Right. Have you been able to touch base with Kenya? How is she doing amid the suspension? Does she feel like she
I
might
check,
film this week?
I'm not here to confirm or deny or whatever what they decided to do as far as how the network handled the situation. But I definitely have been reaching out to her, checking on her, making sure she's okay. You know what I mean? Of course she hates that I'm not there to support her. I hate I'm not there to support her. Well, not really. I actually am kind of glad I'm not there, but I still want to support her.
Oh,
But I think she always feels that nobody ever she said this before. She feels like nobody ever sticks up for her, you know. And I get it. Like I get what everybody's saying, but she did this and I get it. Don't get me wrong. But it's just like, everybody involved has said or done something that wasn't cool.
right. Now, have you run into any of the new girls, Kelly, Brittany, or Angela in town? Do you know any of them? Do you have any thoughts
I
of?
don't know any of them personally. Don Juan, he has also worked with Kelly.
Okay.
So I know of her, but we haven't had a chance to like build a relationship or anything like that. Like she seems like, she's cool. And Don Juan says she's super cool. So, to me, if he says she's cool, then I'm assuming she's cool.
Yeah, so there's too many like endings happening in the Bravoverse right now, which is making us kind of emotional, but at least With every what's that? With every ending, there's a new beginning. There's something like that. I don't know. Closing time. We're opening up though for the $1 million listings in LA. Evan and I can't afford any of those, but we can afford our cable bill to watch.
Yes, yes, we can. Yeah, we talked to Tracy Tutor ahead of the new season, $1 Million Listing Los Angeles, and we had a lot to talk about because there is so much
Yeah.
going on with her. She, as you guys saw on the last season, $1 Million Listing, she and Josh Flagg were at odds because Josh Flagg had some crazy things to say about Tracy's teenage daughter, but they have made amends, guys. They're back on track, and she has decided to forgive him. I don't know, Danny, like you're a Taurus and
Mm-hmm.
you love a grudge.
Mm-hmm.
If someone called your kid a see you next Tuesday, would you forgive them?
I. It depends if they would call me while I'm in prison, because I think that's how that would end. If someone called me that, I would take that. But if someone called my child that, I. You watched Real Housewives of New Jersey this week. I'm from Jersey. You know we talk and more with our hands. That's how that would end for me. Would you forgive someone?
Do you know what? Maybe, maybe I would just try to like reprocess it in my brain the way Erica Jane likes to use that word. Because when
Okay.
Erica Jane uses that word, it's like very much a compliment. So if maybe Josh
Mm.
was using that word like Erica Jane. No? You don't know
And I think Erica Jane wouldn't. If Erica Jane would be on my side for this, I think,
what
because
I
there's two ways to say it. Yes.
So Tracy and Josh are back on track. But Tracy also this season is going through her breakup from Eric Anderson, the celebrity trainer who is about 20 years her junior and hot as hell. I can't believe she let that go, but when she broke it down for us, it made sense. Basically, he wants kids of his own one day. She's got two teenage daughters, and that chapter has closed, which I guess. So it's giving like star-crossed lovers and just not meant to be. But she's still training with him.
I don't. That's also a thing I couldn't do. I couldn't forgive someone for calling my kid anything, and I don't know if I could have my ex be my personal trainer. I think because like personal training is so like I've never done it, but I would assume sensually or like you're sweaty, you're stretching. You
Yeah,
know,
no, it's like it's absolutely hot as hell. And
I'm gonna need
when
to
you
book a session.
guys have not seen pictures
Oh.
of Eric Anderson, her ex, like I can't imagine still training with him as my ex-boyfriend and not catching feelings or wanting to break a sweat outside of the gym. Like he is so hot. But yeah, they're still friends. He's training her and it's all good and Gucci, she says. How are you emotionally preparing to relive the breakup with Eric on this season? Because as we see in the trailer, it looks like it gets really emotional.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was a great love, and we were together for almost 3.5 years, and we lived together. So it felt like a mini divorce. I mean, fortunately, we've been able to maintain a friendship since then. I mean, he's still my trainer, so and we're navigating it still, right? I think it's going to be difficult for both of us to watch, and I think he knows how painful it was for me, and it was also for him. But it's been over six, almost we're pro in July. Yeah, it's been almost a year, and we've been able to sort of mend fences and realize that our friendship is worth working at, and so we've been able to maintain it, which I'm grateful for.
And
Hopefully the reliving of it won't be as bad as I'm anticipating.
I hope not. And that's very commendable too, to maintain a friendship and also a physical personal trainer relationship, because I feel that must be a little tricky. Was part of wanting to keep the friendship there because of how you value him, or was it because obviously like you were blending him into your family too with your kids and everything? Like, were you kind of like, I still want him in their life as well?
Listen, I think with Eric and I in our relationship, and because of the big age gap, there's a time that he is obviously going to get to the place where he wants to have children and a family of his own. And I sort of feel like I raised him. He's going to be like an amazing husband and father for a family and have all of those things sometime soon. But it sort of hit that point where I know that that's going to happen for him one day, and I'm sort of on the other side of that. So that was a realization that it took me some time to come to, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't been a part of my life and my kids' life. And so I think, I always try to look at these things as, sometimes it takes a minute and you have to take time apart. My ex-husband and I are very close. I'm now very good friends with his current wife. They've got a baby on the way. Like, we're like one big dysfunctional Brady Bunch over here. And, everybody gets along, and I'm fortunate enough to have that.
Oh, I love that. Now in the trailer, you do say like you knew there was something wrong and you were just too afraid to confront Eric. Is that the children piece of it?
Well, we had always talked about that, and he was like, but I'm not there yet. And so I sort of let that, creep down the road probably a little bit longer than I should, because I wasn't willing to face like
Mm,
what life looked like without him, if that makes sense, right? Like, he
right.
brought so much good into my life when I was a little bit all over the place after my divorce. I mean, he got me focused. He got me healthy. I live a very different lifestyle post Eric than I did pre Eric. And honestly, I think it's for the better. I take much better care of myself. I was much more focused on work, and just being in a different mindset. And so that was really hard to face and let go of. Again, other challenges along with that, which, I think every couple faces and is incredibly relatable. But I think this piece for so many women out there that are dating, younger men, which has become like much more popular these days. I think it's something that we all understand and have to sort of go through. And with Eric, I felt like it was very difficult to leave such a good relationship for so many different reasons, but ultimately not my end game or
And
his.
I mean, and I love that you guys were able to come to that conclusion together and have that emotional understanding. And I mean, because you are so gorgeous and successful and fun, I think you're only going to be single as long as you want to be single, because you are such a
I gotta
catch.
tell you, man, it's tough out there. It is like dating in
Oh,
LA is a bit of a disaster.
okay.
Um, I've been on a few dates, and boy, do I have some stories. But
The floor is yours. The floor is lava and the floor is yours. Yes.
it's wild. Like, I did the dating app thing for a hot minute. That is a disaster because people only post what they want to show. And then you're like, you are not as it seems. And so I'm kind of on a man break.
Okay. Because the
Mm.
photos also in the dating apps are from 5 years ago. So then they pull up and you're like, you just graduated from Stanford, but
And then
you're
I was like, who am I kidding? I can't be on a dating app. I just need to meet people through friends. And I think Texas has been really fun. I mean, there's some nice, everybody, they're gentlemen in Texas. There's like a
Right.
lot of like opening of the doors and the standing when you exit the table and pick you up in like guys in LA are like, I'll meet you here for a drink. Why don't we? And that's that. Texas,
Right.
like, there's some men in
I
Texas.
also feel like it's probably refreshing to dip into the Texan dating pool because in LA, everyone's kind of like quasi famous. So everyone's in the industry. And I feel like relationships in LA, I currently live in LA. I feel like relationships, romantic or platonic, can oftentimes be so transactional. So dealing with guys in Texas who don't care if you're on a reality show, don't care if you're famous, that's probably also been like a
Yeah,
really nice phase.
they care very little about that. So that's kind of fun. And I feel a little bit more anonymous there, if that makes sense. I mean, and again, I'm a successful businesswoman. That's intimidating. And I think sort of meeting men that are at a little different phase in their life has been good for me.
I love that. Wait,
Very challenging.
yeah.
Yeah,
Eric
totally.
is like 4%, 2% body fat and the abs to like a whole different, it's different. I will say that.
Are you still thinking of what for the next, or for these suitors? Do you like a little younger still, or are you kind of like, let me try a different?
I'm definitely skewing older because, again, that's why ultimately, not that we didn't have different challenges in the relationship, that's life, right? But I think ultimately it's time for me to sort of consider like a life partner, not a now partner. And so I'm skewing a little older now. I'm really shooting for over 50, but yeah, you can late 30s, 40s creep in there every once in a while.
Well, I'm happy for Tracy. It weirdly, now I'm like, it's giving me parallel of Stanberry and Sergio, even though they're married, because they're having this issue right now of like a kid and everything. And
Yeah.
It is kind of stressful to watch because it's like, I think both of them are just wanting different things, but they're in it together and they kind of like brush it under the rug, which I guess is just how they want to vibe right now. And now they have a new house with a lot more spaces for rugs, which I guess is beneficial for this.
No, this last episode of The Real Housewives of Dubai, Danny, I was having so much anxiety when they were screaming at each other as they were trying to pack up all their shit out of Michael's house and go to the new house. And like you said, Danny, she's on the phone with Con Ed and he's worried about the handbags and being the man of the house. And she's sharing the details and the intricacies of their move to Michael and not him. And he's getting upset. And everyone was just, I could not handle it. Like, I was like, honestly, like I needed to pop a Valium.
Oh, from one of the Chanel and Fendi bags that are just everywhere there. The one silver lining is I feel Michael's energy, he seems a little, silly and fun. I feel he would probably be living for the drama of this. So at least at least he was getting that out of it. But I know I was, you know what I mean? He's probably like, Caroline, what's happening? Just like, ears open. So I'm glad he was happy, but I know it made me very, very stressed.
Also making me very, very stressed is when Taleen, who we chatted with this week, and we'll get more into that, when she took Caroline aside during the Queen's dinner and was like, hey, by the way, Sergio opened up to my husband and said that he hates it when your teenage daughter talks shit straight to his face, whatever. And then that somehow turned into a conversation about, oh yeah, well, we'll probably only be together for like 10 to 15 years. Like at some point, he actually is going to want to have a kid or something and is going to leave me and it'll be fine and I'll find a sugar daddy. And like, I was just like, wait, but Caroline, you've been sort of entertaining the idea of having a kid and making embryos and doing all that kind of stuff. So what, like, I feel bad for everyone. I feel like no one is being truthful about what they want or what this is.
Well, Stanbury, don't watch this because I love her. And she scares me. I feel it's kind of the thing where in a dynamic like that, the older person always kind of has the upper hand because she can LOL and push it off because she's like, if I don't want kid, like I'm not rushing. If you want to do cartwheels to have a baby, go do that. Or I'm good riding the wave until you want to get off the surfboard. You know what I mean? VVIP, surfboard. So I think it's kind of one of those things. She's like, I love our life right now. I don't want this. She says maybe she's like, I don't know. So I think she's kind of in a vibe where she's just gonna like chill. And I can't imagine him really leaving her.
She's gonna stay chilling. And yeah, I do kind of feel like Sergio is ride or die for Caroline, and I feel like he'll ride the wave and not to be morbid, but until the end. And working in his benefit because of the age gap. I mean, men can have babies whenever they want to, but he'll still be like kind of like young and spry to have a kid with Caroline Stanbury's successor. That got really dark.
Wait, you were Taleen on Watch What Happens Live, because did you see when Andy asked, like, do you think they're going to last 15 plus or under? And Brian softly was like, I give him like 30, 50 years. And Taleen's like, she'll be dead.
I
And Andy's like, that was ages. Because I'm like, 30 years? Talleen, what are you doing to her?
Right, no, I know, especially because like Caroline Stanbury, especially with like the new face, the facelift, which everyone can agree it looks phenomenal. She does have such a youthful spirit to her. So when Taleen was like, "Oh yeah, only 30 years," I was like, "Wait, I feel like she has more in her." Even though I think
the Brits live forever,
and she's in her 50s, right?
She's 48.
She's 40. Okay, so nearing her 50s. But what I was gonna say is I can see her having at least 50 more years because I just feel like people are living longer. She's got the means and the funds to do the things to keep her living longer. And I just can't first of all, even though I did sort of just like
I was gonna say
predict her death at some point. We all will go. We will all go at some point. That's just a part of life. Hello. But I also can't imagine a world without Caroline Stanbury. So how did we get here?
How did we get here? We don't know. But what I do know is I'm obsessed with Taleen.
I know. I do love Taleen. I mean, we were telling her this, that she really seems like such a natural fit with this group of girls. And it kind of makes me sad that she wasn't there for season one. I mean, no shade to our girl Nina who tried to make French fries a thing. But I feel like if Taleen had, I know you had to, you didn't even remember. Yeah, remember Nina was all about like the French fries, talking about this, that French fries, give me my French fries.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I feel like we could have done better in the casting department and just had Taleen on there from the jump because she came in via Caroline Brooks. And now she and Caroline Brooks they're all out of sorts and she's best friends with Stanberry and the rest of the girlies. Maybe not Lisa Milan who tried to scorch her on this past episode of Dubai. But anyway, I feel like she's just like bopping around. She's getting involved with who she needs to get involved with. She's fighting with who she like, you know what I mean? Like she just makes for a really good housewife and it feels like she was meant for this job.
Oh, she was so meant for it. That's why we had so much fun talking to her. Here's a little sneak peek of our full interview to wet your whistle before we dive into everything. And you're going to want to listen to the full one because we talk about her music career, some things we've seen on Twitter, and so much more.
You know, Brooks, obviously, she brought me in and, you know, she had beef with some of the girls. And that alone was a bit difficult because, you know, I didn't want people to have me associated with any of the drama that she had or have any preconceived notions. So I had to I kind of felt like I started in the negative with some of the girls. So I had to really build those friendships. And look, I mean, I think Brooks' intention was her loyalty to me, and I appreciate that. But there were a lot of deeper issues going on there between her and Caroline. And I do think once she saw that I was getting closer with all the girls, really, it wasn't going her way.
When you entered this experience, did you think there was a chance that you and Brooks would drift apart, or did you go into it feeling like the friendship was solid? Were there any conversations you had about like, okay, we're good friends, we're not going to let the show get in the way of this? Like, what was that experience
Yeah,
like?
that's a great question. No, the short answer. I thought that we were strong enough to get through this season. But look, I mean, it's TV and you see sides of people and there's different dynamics with the other women and the drama is all real that happens. That was actually my biggest surprise. I didn't know how real it was. And it's sad, you know, because we did have a solid friendship and, you know, never say never. I hope one day we can sort some things out because she was one of my first friends in the States, but you know, things change. There's ebbs and flows in friendships.
Well, and right, the most recent episode, there was some flowing with Lisa.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, it was like one of those rewind moments where I was like, wait, why are we mad to Lisa?
Right. I was saying, if Lisa saying the word bitch was a drinking game, like, we'd all be on the floor. Because it's, yeah, I didn't know where that came from.
And you were saying on Watch What Happens Live, it seemed like she just is someone who lives for a moment.
Yeah, I think she was a little butthurt that maybe she thought I was trying to get a moment, which I really just wanted to privately take Stanberry aside because it was a very personal issue. That's what I would have wanted, you know, for someone to do that to me. Maybe she felt left out, but yeah, she was probably looking for that moment.
I feel like at that point there were so many issues flying around this group, but no one knew about the issue that you were bringing up to Stanberry. A part of me just watching as a viewer felt like the group was almost paranoid about what
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Was there a sense of paranoia, do you think, looking back on it, about what you two were discussing? And then, you know, I feel like they would be relieved to know that it was just about the Sergio and the kids.
Could be. And look, maybe I don't regret pulling her aside because that's what I would have wanted. But I told them everything's fine. It had nothing to do with anyone at the table. But you're right. I mean, it's a good point. It could have been paranoia, but some of these bitches want a moment. I think it's more leaning towards that way.
They're a little thirsty.
A little bit.
But I think it was good that you took Stanberry aside because she is someone, like you said, like you understood her British humor. I feel if she's very British reserved, where if you brought up a sensitive topic in front of a lot of people, she wouldn't have received it.
Yes.
Well,
it would have been very intimidating, I think, with everybody there.
Did she receive your humor on Watch What Happens Live last night? Have you heard from her about, because you had some fun, and I think it was in good fun about the face, which face, and the age
Yeah.
of her.
Well, I always tell her, I'm like, you're the two-faced one on the cast because you literally have two faces. And I mean that in the best way possible because first of all, she was gorgeous with her old face, but she's even more gorgeous now. I'm like, I want to get a facelift. I'm telling you. I understand British banter very well, and I think she gets my humor. It's very sarcastic. Sarcasm is my love language, and she just gets me. She understands my humor. So I don't think she was offended. I hope she's not offended because I love her and I love Sergio so much, and they do have a solid relationship. But regarding what I said about, you know, them in the fight at Michael's, you know, I think it was she was a little bit harsh on him, and I just felt bad. That's all.
We've been digging on YouTube. We've also been digging on Twitter.
Yeah.
And why is this new friend of not your friend?
Which one?
Saba?
Oh, Saba. Yeah.
She seems to not really be vibing.
Look, Saba is interesting. I think we have very different personalities. When I first met her, I felt like she was just a little judgmental of the group. She kind of had her nose in the air. And I have no hate for the girl, but we are just extremely different. And I was on my live Instagram and I said that she was boring. And she is. And she didn't like that. And so we had a little back and forth, but it was all in good fun. It was all in good fun. She's a sweetheart, just boring.
She's a sweetheart who's implying that you have a drinking problem and are chugging things at 9 a.m.
I know. But clearly she hasn't been to a fun brunch, and I feel bad for her about that. So.
I did love how you responded with like the dancing girl emojis. I was like,
Well, no, and then she goes, well, and I'm also happy I've never been to AA, which I haven't. And then I go, Saba in AA stands up and says, hi, my name is Saba, and I add nothing to the show. So, yeah.
Okay.
But we laughed about it. She literally she WhatsApped me and like literally had laughing faces.
Okay.
So it's not that
she
deep.
gets it.
She gets it. It's
Wait,
not that deep.
But I love, this is why you're so good on the show.
I
You're
mean-
like, it's not deep, but I can go deep.
I can go deep.
I have the archive.
I have it in me. I have it in me. I do.